lived the American dream. My mother and father were working people. I grew up in a 5-room apartment. They never owned a home. They never took vacations. They just worked hard all the time and gave me a chance to go to a great school like this. And it was this education that opened doors for me, gave me a chance to go on to law school. I applied, by the way, to the Northwestern Law School on a Monday, and I got my letter of rejection back, Professor, on a Tuesday. I didn't go to Northwestern, but I went to Pepperdine in Malibu, California. Anybody here familiar with Pepperdine? That's the, yes. Pepperdine, for you college Democrats, you should know the president of Pepperdine Law School is Kenneth Starr. Kenneth Starr was to Bill Clinton what some of these guys are to me, suing somebody for all the wrong reasons. But I went to Pepperdine, and if the federal prosecutors want those records, feel free to do it. And if they look at my grades in law school and they see what those grades were, they'll see I obviously never cheated on an exam. Now the topic here is ethics in government. Now I know, based on what's been said about me and the false accusations that have been leveled against me, that many of you must think it's kind of ironic that I would agree and accept an opportunity to come here and talk to you about ethics in government. And I have to confess, I believe one of the great virtues in life, that one of the great virtues anybody could have, is to have the virtue of courage. I got in trouble once when I said it when I was governor, but I'm not governor anymore, so I'll say it now. Testicular virility. I believe. But I gotta tell you, for all the courage and testicular virility you think you have, if I did the things they said I did, and I did wrong things like they wanted you to believe I did, I'd be nowhere near this event tonight. I'd be 100 miles away. I wouldn't have the chutzpah, the temerity, or be out of my mind to talk to you about ethics in government. But the fact of the matter is, I have been lied about, and you have been lied to. And the media has been lied to. And an ethical question for the media is, where have you been, and why are you not bringing about that healthy skepticism to look into what's happened here? Now, I know what it's like to get my college records subpoenaed by the federal government, by prosecutors, and I know there are some of the students here on this campus at the Medill Institute Innocence Project, the Medill Innocence Project, that have been working to help those who have been wrongfully convicted of crimes get their innocence through DNA and other evidence. And I want to commend those young students for all the great work that they're doing. And I can't help but draw a parallel between them and me, because it's been pointed out to me that the Cook County State's Attorney has subpoenaed the records of those kids who are out there trying to do what they think is right to actually find the truth. At the end of the day, when you stop and think about what ethics is, what morality is, isn't it really about what's true and what's right and the difference between right and wrong? And I'm here today to talk about ethics in government, and I'm fighting back against these forces, fighting back against these powerful forces who lied about me, not just because that's about protecting my family, my children, myself, my good name, and prove to the people of Illinois who elected me twice as their governor that I didn't let them down, but also because this great country of ours is a country that attracted people like my father here because it's a free country, a place where you're free to talk and say what you want, a place where the sanctity of your home should be respected, a place where the law recognizes you as innocent unless and until a court of law proves you guilty, a place where the presumption of innocence actually matters. And yet with the super sensationalism and the unethical behavior of a prosecutor who lied to the people on the day he had a sitting governor arrested where he said he was quote-unquote stopping a crime spree before it happened. And the truth of the matter is just the opposite, and that will be shown when the full story is told and all of the tapes are heard. The fact of the matter is, when you open up a can of worms like that and create a super sensational story, it's foreseeable that politicians will run, and it's foreseeable that what happened later on with regard to the Illinois State Senate, throwing out a governor that was elected by the people in a process, you should know, a process that would not allow me to call witnesses unless they approved them. We submitted to the Illinois State Senate 40 witnesses that we wanted to call, including the President's new Chief of Staff, Rahm Emanuel, including U.S. Senator Harry Reid, including United States Senator Bob Menendez, including U.S. Senator Dick Durbin, Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky, Congressman Danny Davis, Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr. I can go on. And you know what the Illinois State Senate did? They said I can't call them as witnesses. We implored the State Senate to play all the tapes. And I hadn't heard a single tape by then except for a couple of snippets of conversations that were taken out of context by my accusers. And they played a couple to create an environment, but they didn't play the full context and allow you or the people to hear what the whole story was. So I said, without knowing what was on those tapes, because I know me, and I know that I don't break the law, and I know that I'm going to operate honestly, and I know that I'm going to ask questions, especially with my top advisors and my lawyers. I know that I did nothing wrong. In fact, my only concern was some of the profanity I may have used in those private conversations. Out of that, unfortunately, I'm guilty. Mike Madigan's son is the godson of the Senate president. It's a family affair. It's a family affair. John Cullerton, the Chicago Sun-Times, rightfully pointed out just the other day, is the Illinois State Senate president, and what does he do? And what does he moonlight as? Not just a lawyer, who also has a real estate tax business like Madigan's representing those clients downtown, but how about registered lobbyist? Now something's upside down here. Here's the Senate president who's also a lobbyist paid by clients who lobbies the Senate president. Now that's a short conversation, isn't it? I gotta think he could probably charge a lot of money to his clients because he probably tells them, look, I know the president of the Senate, I can probably get you a good result. And yet I'm here and they are there. I fought that system. They passed phony baloney ethics laws trying to ban fundraising from contractors that limited only the governor of Illinois. That was a good first step. And so what I did was I rewrote a bill. I rewrote a bill to apply that to all of them, me and them. And while I was at it, I wrote a provision in there that said, you have to disclose who your clients are. Mike Madigan, we have a right to know who your clients are, we the people. John Cullerton, we have a right to know who your clients are, we the people. And yet, 1 minute, and yet, the reality is, they overrode my veto, took care of that system. We passed health care reform in Illinois. Every child got health care under me because I pushed and prodded that system and wouldn't take no for an answer. We gave senior citizens free public transportation in Illinois. I couldn't get the legislature to do it, so I went around them. And when they raised sales taxes on people, I wrote in a provision as an amendatory veto to give seniors free public transportation. I protected taxpayers for 6 years. I promised not to raise taxes on the people, and these politicians in Springfield thought it was just a bunch of baloney, and as soon as you get elected, break that promise and raise taxes so you get more money into a system in Springfield that feeds the insiders and does it on the backs of the people, and I wouldn't do it. Preschool for all in Illinois. $8 billion in public school education, but not by raising taxes, instead taking the people's money, 53 to 60 billion of it, and moving it around. That's the morality of what you're supposed to do as governor. State government is not exciting. It's mostly about the money. Who pays it and where does it go? And it's about your priorities. Jim Walls wrote a book, God's Politics. In it he talks about budgets being moral documents. It's a moral document. It tells you what you believe in. It's an expression of what you think is right and more important than something else. My investments were for children, my investments were for families who need health care, my investments were for education, and my investments were to help senior citizens. And a lot of the time I had to work around gridlock to get it done. But I wasn't going to do it on the backs of people. We closed corporate loopholes, we reduced the size of government. In short, we made the lobbyists and the special interests angry, but we did more for people by changing the priorities of the state. That was the morality and the ethics of my years as governor. Thank you.